What's up, guys, and welcome back to Book Entertainment. So, the suspended CEO of IDT is like been exposed, by a Daily Maverick journalist, and she was recorded, with this hidden camera footage where she was attempting to bribe this journalist with a 60,000 rand bribery attempt to stop an investigation into an 836 million rand hospital oxygen plant project. So having been exposed like that, it shows that Tebogo herself, she knows something more than what they were doing, with that 836 million rand. It's like they definitely embezzled those funds, because why would you want to stop an investigation into that and even offer a bribe money of 60,000 rands? So one more shocking thing, that was exposed by Tebogo, as she was speaking with this journalist, is that she gave the journalist 60,000 rands, and she even promised him more money up to like 100,000 rands, and even access to some lucrative IDT tenders. And she just wanted the journalist to stop publishing stories about that controversial oxygen plant tender that was worth hundreds of millions of rands. So, as you do know, social media, they were speaking and laughing and saying, how can she offer that white journalist 60,000 rands, such a paltry figure, after having embezzled 836 million rands? So, hey, those were just people just speaking, and just assessing the scenario in itself. But what does this tells us? With that bribery attempt, I think we can see that this woman, Tebogo, she must be guilty in some way or somehow, because why would you want to stop the investigation and even offer bribe money? And one even interesting aspect was Tebogo was there herself, in person. She didn't even send somebody else to stand up for her. She went there herself and offered that 60,000 rands to the journalist, and the journalist even took photos of that money. And it's really crazy. Like, how can you allow him to take pictures of that money? Like, she should have questioned him, like, what do you want to do with those pictures? But they simply allowed him to take those pictures, and Tebogo was there, with his spokesperson. So beyond that, Tebogo Malaka's involvement, it went beyond bribery attempt. According to a forensic investigation by PwC, she presided over a tender process, that was riddled with governance breaches, altered bid specifications, contracts awarded far above legal grading limits, and missing evaluation records. So these are some of the things that she was involved in. And there was even a ghost company with no proper registration. It ended up with nearly half the tender value. So what we can see is that half of that tender value was definitely embezzled. It was definitely eaten. So these findings, they painted a picture of systematic procurement abuse under her leadership. So one person who sort of stood up, against these shenanigans is the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean Mark. And he actually confirmed, that the matter had been referred to the Hawks for possible criminal investigation. So Makafason himself, became like a lightning rod in the saga, and was pushing for accountability at the IDT, and he said that he was even targeted by a coordinated fight back campaign involving fake documents, AI generated smear audio. So these are some of the challenges that he was going through. And I'm seeing that just now, and it's so unfortunate that Dean Makafason was going through this, parties like Action SA and EFF, they even publicly called for his suspension, simply because Dean was investigating Tebogo, and the Action SA and EFF, they even went as far as to lodge a formal complaints against him, and they were seeing his move, and interpreting them as attempts to derail, IDT. So looking at it now, I think Asian SA, from their view, they were like defending a black woman who they felt was unfairly being targeted by Dean McPherson. I think that's how they saw it and why they went to her defense. But right now, it's very unfortunate that in their attempts to defend her, she has turned out to be the one who was on the wrong side. And unfortunately, it's now turning in a bad way for Action SA. But as we all know, Action SA and the DA, they don't see each other eye to eye. If the DA says we're going to the left, the Action SA will come in, and say, no, 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 we're going to the other side. So there is one thing that is sort of like detrimental to Herman Mashava, and it is that hatred towards the DA. I don't know what those guys did to each other, and they have this serious hatred and animosity towards each other. And with the way that Herman Mashava reacted to this issue, you can see that there was definitely, that hatred that was there within Mashaba, but unfortunately, that hatred, it clouded his vision towards seeing exactly what Tebogo Malaka was actually involved in. So, the final question after all of this is that will Tebogo Malaka be arrested? Because everything, that she was being accused of doing, you can see that she's kind of guilty. Like, why was she like trying to cover up this story? But however, at the present moment, the Hawks are investigating both the tender irregularities and definitely this 60,000 bribery attempt. So the case is now up to the NPA and it's in their hands. And if the NPA decides that there is enough evidence, she could face arrest and be charged under South Africa's Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act, which carries possible prison time. So at the present moment, it's definitely not looking good for Tebogo after this the investigative journalism that was done by the Daily Maverick journalist. I'll catch you guys on the next one.